This is Meat Mitch, and you're listening to the BBQ Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the really big BBQ Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire, fun, and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with the show this evening, or you would like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do all that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at BBQCentralShow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter coming up in about 12 minutes from now. First-time guest. And I think for those of you that have been considering toying around with the idea that you might want to put on some type of live fire event, you want to be a contest organizer of some sort, this is a segment or two segments that you're really going to want to take notes on, pay close attention to, and perhaps get some contact information from, because our guest in the first hour is a prolific contest organizer. He has put on a number of different events, not only where he has come to grow the roots in the New England area, but he's also spawned out into the areas as far west as, let's say, in Nebraska. Not necessarily known for its barbecue wiles. Not saying that it isn't totally. I mean, we do have a hot grill-on-grill action out of Nebraska. We do have the Pizziolo de Pizziolas, Matt Frampton out of Nebraska, also part of hot grill-on-grill action. But not a barbecue juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination, as you would come to know from the Big Four. But the first guest tonight has gotten out there, and he's ready to share information with you, not only on his background, but how he has been able to keep this thing going here for more than a handful of years. And we will welcome in first-time guest, Jeremy Garrett, to the show. So happy to have Jeremy on. Looking forward to the conversation with him, of course. And then we will move to the second hour. And it is the fourth Tuesday of the month. And in April, we are lucky enough to have a bonus week. So there will be a fifth Tuesday. By the way, missing her usual quarter spot a couple weeks ago. Programming note, if I might interrupt myself. A Jess Pryles will be in next Monday in the first hour, 9:14, to backfill her normal segment that she missed while she was in Australia for a couple weeks, doing whatever people do in Australia. She's from there originally, so she probably has a little bit more of a keener idea in what she was actually doing, not sightseeing and touristy stuff, but family stuff. So she was away a couple weeks ago and said, hey, I want to make sure that I keep my end of the bargain up, and I'll be there on the 29th, 9/14. So looking forward to having her an hour earlier than usual next week to fulfill those obligations. However, that being said, the fourth Tuesday of a month brings a visit from none other than the fearsome foursome, as I called them in the show newsletter, the embedded correspondents. That's right. We will have a Doug Scheiding who is in remote location but still doing the segment, of course, because show comes first if you are an embedded correspondent, forsaking no others. You also have a John Solberg from Michigan. You also have a Rusty Monson from the great city of Utah and a Matt Osman from Tennessee, and a litany of brand new 100% assurity questions that we'll roll through during the course of the second hour, so look forward to that. So Jeremy Garrett in the first hour and the embedded correspondence in the second hour. Don't forget, you can follow me socially at all the different platforms, Instagram, for instance, or how about Twitter? Maybe you like TikTok. Maybe you are more a fan of Snapchat. Maybe you like the LinkedIn. Fine. I'm there, all of those places, with the handle at BBQ Central Show. We like to keep consistency key, so it's the same handle across any social media platform that you like, and I think I'm on all of them at this point. Also, we say good evening to those of you watching tonight through our video streaming platforms, where you can find me at facebook.com/BBQ Central Show or twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. You can also watch the show on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where we have a new YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests. It's simple, and I'm surprised I haven't thought of it sooner. Are you subscribed to the BBQ Central Show's newsletter? And currently 75% of you are saying, yes, you are. So I appreciate that. What you get from a show newsletter entails the following: showing up sometime around 5 p.m. Eastern or so every Tuesday. A, giving you a heads up on what the guests and what the topics of the show will be later on that evening. And then you have the links to all the show sponsors. If there's any special deals and promo codes, it's attached to the link on that particular show sponsor or business. And then at around 8:55 every Tuesday evening, you get a reminder letter that the show is now on live. Make sure you tune in. You get a quick recap of who the guest rundown is going to be. So very exciting for you to sign up for the show newsletter. By the way, as a special thank you from me to you, totally free, and for you to use at will and take total credit for, as my brand. Well, it's not brand new, but it's my own homemade barbecue sauce recipe. And let me tell you, I've had plenty and plenty of human beings roll through my house over the many years I have been into this live fire business. And they all try my homemade barbecue sauce, and without fail, they all say, this is something that should be on a shelf. And 15 years ago, I probably should have listened and put it on a shelf. Nowadays, no, I'm not doing that. If Meathead can't make it in the sauce business, then your pal Greg Rempe is not making it in the sauce business at this point, because I'm just adding noise to the current availability of a billion other barbecue sauces. And by the way, a lot of them are really good. Oh, by the way, a lot of them are trash. I saw a great post by quarterly guest and creator of the Hey Grill Hey brand, Susie Bullock, make the other day, where she echoed my sentiments that I have been preaching long, proud, and loud, oh, these many decades that we have been on the internet airwaves, which is that liquid smoke sucks, right? I think we can all agree on that. If you're somebody who has a proclivity for liquid smoke, you should probably try and find some other show to listen to or take in. I don't want you around. It's terrible. I call it the devil's urine. Most barbecue sauces, especially in a big commercial sense, pour copious amounts of liquid smoke into their recipe. And as Susie said, this is probably done in a action to try and mimic all of the forms of barbecue. Adding a sauce to a meat does not make it barbecue. In case you didn't know that, sauce has nothing to do with it. Barbecue is a way of cooking. The smoke, either from wood or from fat dripping down onto the coals, turning into smoke and perfuming the meat. That's what's making the real smoke flavor. That's what makes it real barbecue, the process of cooking. It's not liquid smoke, and you are not turning some other meat into barbecue if you're using a barbecue sauce that has a smoke flavoring in it. We have to do our best to get through this mindset, and with the help of a media maven like Susie Bullock, dare I say Triple T as well, backing her up, we can finally make this push to remove natural smoke flavor. If you look at it in the recipe or in the ingredients on the back of the bottle, anything that says natural flavor, trash, throw it out immediately. Go buy Susie's stuff. No liquid smoke there. How about a little Blues Hog? How about some Grannies? Just to name a few. There's a lot of good ones out there that don't have it. But by and large, the most sizable barbecue sauce conglomerates put liquid smoke. Some don't even give a shit. They're not even trying to hide it. Right on the bottle. Liquid smoke. Screw off. That's what I say. Not buying that. Anyway, we got Jeremy Garrett ready to go in the green room. Before we get to him, let's talk about Pits and Spits. Two things to tell you about. We'll lead with the Pits and Spits griddle. The gas griddle combines the power of a traditional grill with the versatility of a flat top. Engineered with precision and crafted from top quality materials, the versatile griddle set to revolutionize your outdoor cooking experience. Constructed of 304 marine grade stainless steel, a fully welded design. The griddle comes with 4 burners to accurately manage your heat zone. Gets blistering hot with 80,000 BTUs. Made with the Pits and Spits signature quality, the griddle is designed to last for generations, and that means your kids will fist fight over it because it's that great. Now, for those of you building your ultimate outdoor kitchen, you have to check out the built-in pellet grill designed for discerning grill masters who demand top-tier performance. This grill is the essential centerpiece for any serious outdoor kitchen, from low and slow smoking to high heat searing. This grill can handle it all. Brisket, ribs, pizzas, veggies, you name it, this grill can cook it. And with the Pits and Spits legendary craftsmanship, you can be confident it's built to last with stainless steel construction and a design that's as reliable as it is versatile and functional. So, if you're ready to take your cooking to the next level, head on over to the website, pitsandspits.com, all spelled out. Pits and Spits with the double T on the pits and the spits. And then use .com/BBQ Central. And then at checkout, use promo code BBQ Central for a free spice pack with orders over $500 or more. And rest assured, if you are ordering the built-in pellet grill or the Pits and Spits griddle, both over $500. So if you remember to use the BBQ Central code at checkout, you're a shoo-in for the free spice pack. And we're back to learn about putting on live fire events and more right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard, makers of the Fireboard 2, Fireboard Pro, Fireboard Spark, Fireboard Beacon, and the newer wireless Fireboard Pulse. By the way, when you use the Facebook app, you have total access to all devices anywhere in the world. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call with questions 816-945-2232. And there's a very good chance that Ted Conrad himself might answer the phone and answer your very own question. How about that? As I mentioned in the open, gang, if you are around competition barbecue or competition steak or competition ribs, and you have thought to yourself, by golly, I think I could probably put on a successful, profitable, popular barbecue grilling or one-off type contest, and it's going to be really simple and really easy, and then you decide to get into it and realize it is not really simple and it is not really easy. Couple those two together, and it's probably going to be a suck event that is going to be one and done if you even get it off the ground. So how do we do it? Well, we have an expert here to talk to us all about it. It's the first timer of the show, and you can find him over at grandambbq.com. It's our new pal, Jeremy Garrett. Jeremy, appreciate you making time here this evening. Before we get going, we have a YouTube poll question of the week, and I'm going to put you right on the spot like I did with all my listeners on the YouTube side of things. Are you subscribed to the show newsletter, yes or no?
I have not.
No.
I'm going to.
Surprisingly,
No.
31% of my Allegiant audience is also not subscribed to the show newsletter. So everybody listening here, open up another tab, go to the homepage, and immediately subscribe to the show newsletter. How dare I have 31% of people who are fans of mine not be fans of my written and creative words? Nevertheless, we'll work through that on our own off the air. Before we get into conversations about contests and your background in live fire, Jeremy, how about a little professional background on you, where you grew up, where you live now, and what you might do for a living?
Sure. So I'm an Okie. Grew up on a farm with not a whole lot of people. We are actually the smallest graduating class when I graduated in Oklahoma. So I'm from BFE and beyond. But got a job or got a degree in wildlife ecology, and then went to work for the state wildlife agency, and was there for about 8 or 9 years. And then my wife and I decided, you know what, we don't have enough adversity in our life. Let's move. So we moved up to New England and planted ourselves in Vermont, which is 180 degrees in every single way from Oklahoma. But we've loved it up here. My daughter grew up here. Love skiing and, everything that offers. Also love the summers where it's, 70 and 80 degrees instead of 110. So that's always pleasant. It's the winters though that get you when you're up in the north. So maybe in another few years we'll look a little warmer, but yeah, so I've been up here, started doing events, indoor events for many, many years. And then this COVID thing hit, and all of a sudden the only events that were working were outdoor events. So I had been doing a few Brewfest, craft brew festivals, and decided it was time to kind of throw my hat in and do a barbecue festival. And just like you were saying, I thought, silver bullet, we're going to create a barbecue festival for our town, and we're going to make so much money, and it's going to be amazing. And it's taken me on a journey from that point until now, 10 years later, and 100 contests throughout the Northeast, and working in 8 or 9 different states to try and bring some stuff together that is barbecue and and people.
Let me backtrack all the way to the beginning. When you say you were in the smallest graduating class in Oklahoma, how many people are in your graduating class?
8.5.
Are you kidding?
No.
8.5?
And the half was we had a junior that her mom and dad wanted her to graduate before the school closed, and so she's our half. So she was a junior that actually graduated, got enough credits, and was able to graduate with us. So technically 9.
Wow. Are there any underclass that are sizably bigger than your graduating 8 senior year, or is that par for the course?
We actually had, I think 3 years behind me was a class of 2, and that was pretty funny because they were both valedictorian and salutatorian, and they were They had awful grades, but they were the only two. So, even smaller than us, but the school closed by that point, and they, kind of just divvied them up among the rest of the local communities.
So less than 50 kids in the whole high school, potentially.
32.
32. Wow. This is insane
32.
talk. So I thought I had graduated.
That included 8th grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought I graduated with a small class. I think I was one of 125 or 126. It's much different where I live, where I used to live and what that whole scene looks like now. But wow, 32 was something else. And then why wildlife? What attracted you to that?
Well, like I said, grew up on a farm, hunting and fishing and all of that, and loved the outdoors. And I actually have a minor in marketing and communications, so it's kind of a mix of stuff. And when I worked at the wildlife agency, basically I did like the marketing and creating events, and it was fun. It was fun. Not a game warden. That's a tough job. Those guys, they deserve many kudos because they're the only people out there that you walk up and someone has a gun. So it's that's a challenging job, but mine was a lot more fun, and got to deal with the kind of public element of it.
So when we talk about putting on events, you talk about the Brew Fest. We've had a number of Brew Fests over here in Cleveland over the years, and the guys that I know to go to them talk about where at some point during the evening there's vomitosis going all around because they've been overserved, blah, blah, blah. But you're thinking that, hey, barbecue is the silver bullet, and maybe that first event isn't great. So where do you try and school up where I can improve putting on a better barbecue event? I assume it was, worthwhile enough for you to think about continuing to do it. So where do you refine the edges?
It is. It's that tweaking. The first year we did our major, it was called the Great American Rib Fest. First year we did that, we lost $25,000. We went back, we retooled it, we looked at the ROI on everything, and then COVID hit. But then we brought it back in 2022, and it had been off for a couple of years. So there was a hunger and desire for that type of event, and that event made $70,000. So it wiped out the debt from the first one, and then we moved on to the second one. But everything has kind of changed with COVID. People's expectations have changed. It used to be people would plan out months in advance. Now it's literally days in advance that they plan to do live events. And it's very frustrating as an organizer because you would like to sell all those tickets way ahead of time, but that's the new normal,
How can you bring, let me re-ask this because you said COVID hit. So when you put it on the first time and it's a $25,000 loser, if COVID didn't hit, we're talking hypothetically here, obviously, were you going to try and bring it right back the next year? Or would it have been done?
I would have probably tried it one more time, but I wouldn't have. What COVID did for my company was it allowed me to sit down, sit in my feelings for a moment and look at everything across the board, not do things because it was expected of me, but do things because it made financial sense. And that's a learning process. I'm still learning it 15 years, 20 years into my event management career. It's always a process. So probably the next year I would have lost another 20, 25K, and then it would have been done. And then I would have been done. So my wife would have said, let's not do that anymore.
So where are you coming up with money to lose? Like, how could you do that more than one time?
Well, you get investors, or actually, I think my mom helped me. So
your mom gave you money?
She gave me money.
Wow.
Yeah, she was very generous.
Best mom ever.
But she said, I expect this back. So I did pay her back when we made the money. So it was all good.
Wow. All right. Well, that's a bit of financial
But
fascination
yeah, normally
there.
that's normally where like sponsors would come in, right? So sponsors carry a huge load. But again, everything has changed after COVID. We don't see as many cash sponsorships. We see a lot of in-kind, trade, product, that sort of things. Like a lot of our barbecue teams are actually sponsored, but that doesn't mean a cash sponsorship.
Yep.
It might mean a discount on product or whatever. And that's kind of what we've seen on the event side as well. It's hard to get cash. It's easier to get product or trade or services.
So we're many years away from the whole pandemic at this point. How come businesses haven't turned back to cash?
I mean, why would you? If it's working, and you don't have to outlay a bunch of cash, then why would you? It's easier. It's always easier, to go, Home Depot and say, all right, you want some buckets or you want, this or whatever. That's easy. Giving you, $2,500 cash out of their pocket. That's harder. It just is.
How does it make it harder for you as a event organizer to not have the cash and more or less working with what they're offering you and making that work?
Well, my partner and I, we kind of see it as...
Oh my God. Fucking computer's going to shut down.
Oh,
no, I did. Okay, we're here. I thought my computer was going to pull a fast one on me and crash here, but looks like the internet just froze. So I'll have to go back and editing out my swearing. Sorry about that. Your partner and you were, and then we froze.
Yeah, basically money that we're not paying out is money that's still in, if that makes sense. It's not money. If we don't have to spend it, then it's still in our budget and we can use it for something else.
When you look at when you started putting on events, minus what we had just talked about, how has this particular organizing landscape changed over the years that you've been in it?
So barbecue competitions, I've been doing this right at 10 years now. And most of my competitions are in New England, the Northeast. And we saw a ton of competitions. For example, Massachusetts had 5 or 6. New York had 8 or 9 or 10. They actually had a whole series that you added up the points for all the contests in New York. There were tons and tons of contests, but there were also tons and tons of participating teams competing. And I think a lot of that was kind of, the barbecue pitmasters hit, and then everyone's like, that's really fun. That's cool. I want to try that. And, what I've seen post-COVID is people are like, you know what? I've found better things to do with my time or my money or whatever. The people that are doing competition barbecue now really love competition barbecue. They're not, they're out to win. They're not out to get last place or just to show up. They are out to try and win and do whatever it takes to make themselves winners.
Is NEB still a thing?
It is. It's now called the Northeast Barbecue Society. They still sanction some smaller events in New England. They also do trainings, which is really great. They can do a couple of events. That was actually the very first contest I ever went to, was called the Snowshoe. It was in mid-March, and there was snow on the ground. And I think I was telling you in a separate conversation, the very first team I rolled up to and shook his hand, Bill Gillespie from Smokin' Hogs, a 2-time world champion. Yep. And this must have been right after he had won. I can't remember if it was the Jack or the Royal, whichever one he won last, but that was like in 2014. So it must have been right after that I met him. And, he's now one of my dearest and oldest friends in the industry. We all call him the godfather of New England barbecue. He's just there to help. And he's as excited to see a new team win, that he's, especially those that he's, done trainings or classes for, he's just as excited to see them win as him win. But just a most gracious guy, a really, really wonderful guy. And he got me started. He said, all right, you need to talk to these people. Here's the stuff you need to do. And when I have a question, I'll send him a email message or whatever, text message, and say, hey, Bill, can you help me with this? And he will respond right away and help me out. He's always been great about that.
You can count on him to attend your events.
Absolutely.
Too.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's funny because he attended, I do what's called the Campground BBQ Series, and it's events that are all held at campgrounds. And so generally we do 5 or 6 weekends in 4 or 5 different states. And so we were doing this for about 3 or 4 years, and it was very funny. It was a Friday night, and I said, Bill, we've known each other for about 4 or 5 years now, and you've never won any of my competitions. I thought you were a world champion. I thought you were pretty good. And he took it as a challenge, and we had actually a Saturday contest and a Sunday contest. He won them both. He was like, it was a punctuation to say that he could still bring it when he needed to. So every now and then, I will, when we were at the Royal, I was like, Bill, you're a 2-time world champion. Let's go. You got this thing. And, he didn't win, but one of our other teams in the Northeast did win this past year. So, again, we were all just so happy to see our local teams in the Northeast and New England win.
So I want to have a separate conversation here this evening about actually putting on an event, kind of listing out best steps, practices, insider information, blah, blah, blah. But let me circle back to the Campground BBQ Series. Why specifically would you be setting up a barbecue series that's focused around campgrounds? Where's the win?
The win is easy. If you have to plan an event out in a field or a parking lot, you got to bring in electric, which means generators. It means diesel. It means electric lines. You got to have boxes. You've got to have all the cords, and that's hopefully to keep everyone happy, and someone doesn't plug one thing too many in there and it blows the whole fuse system. You have to bring in porta-johns. You have to get them cleaned and serviced. You have to bring in water trucks, or you have to have spigots or something for water. That all takes time. It takes money. Whereas in a campground, they back their trailer in, they plug it in, they hook up the water, maybe if they have sewer, and there you go. It's done. Easy peasy. There's, hot showers. There's, laundromats if they need them. And a campground is just a cool place to do stuff. There's fire pits. We will see, teams that just kind of, can, collaborate and come together around fire pits, and, they're cooking marshmallows or whatever. And they're just chatting, having a beer, having some other spicy beverages. So it's just a really cool atmosphere. And I always stay there on site. My business partner, and I will generally stay there on site. So I get to go hang out with the teams, which I think is, it's unique, I think, for many organizers. And I also just enjoy, these are really good friends of mine that we've made over the years.
And the campground has no issue with you bringing in 20, 30, 40 teams or anything like that, because they probably get rental for the weekend.
Exactly. And generally we target kind of the slow season, the off season. So all of our contests are generally in the spring, early spring, or late fall. So it's for the Northeast, basically from Memorial Day to Labor Day is your season. Yep. So we kind of stay on the other sides of those, and we're selling out the campground for them. So it's extra money they never had.
All right, we're talking with Jeremy Garrett. Jeremy, can I put you on hold here just for a moment, and then we'll come back here and pick up the conversation? Very good. Stand by, and we will answer all your questions about best practices for putting on an event, or perhaps learning how you might be able to contract Jeremy's services to make sure that you are running an incredible first-time event. The things we want to plan out, make sure we have in place to be successful. Before we do that, we'll talk to you about Primo Grills. What do we love about Primo cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We also love that they can get rip-roaring hot for the high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. And what do we love most about the Primo? Well, you can achieve true two-zone cooking, because we all know that two-zone cooking is very important, both professional and backyard cooks. The best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. But unlike the other ceramic grill cookers that are round, the Primo is oval. It's a game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute that two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. When you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo cooker, so you're only limited by your culinary imagination. You do have the Primo Grill rotisserie, the Primo Grill pizza accessory, and that's just naming a few, many, many more outside of those. Only sold through dealers, so go to primogrill.com and find a dealer locator. And then visit all of those ovals in person. Pick the one that best fits your budget and your needs, and then you're off and running from there. Here's the bottom line. Best ceramics in the biz, yes. Patented technology, yes. True two-zone cooking capabilities with multiple sizes of ovals, yes and yes. So don't wait. Go to primogrill.com right now and check them out online for an informational. And then go on-site to the closest dealer to you and check them out in person. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram while you're at it. And we'll be back with more Jeremy Garrett right after this. Stick around, be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the BBQ Central Show.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker. Most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet when it comes to barrel cookers, available in 3 different sizes, a host of accessories. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a professional, it's just a cooker you want to add to that arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the BBQ Central Show sent you. And we are joined once again by Jeremy Garrett from Grand Am BBQ. By the way, the website, grandambbq.com. So as I talked about as we went to break, Jeremy, I'd like to spend a couple minutes here at least talking about how to put on a great contest and things that you've learned over the years that have helped make you successful for the folks that might be either in the instant chat that have been thinking about this for some moment in time, or perhaps even more importantly, the folks that might be perusing Google or YouTube or whatever, searching about how to put on a barbecue contest, and then they would run across this information. So what do you think the most important thing, rule number one, if somebody's going to be organizing a KCBS barbecue contest or perhaps any barbecue contest that's sanctioned, what's the most important thing to take into consideration to get you off on the right foot?
Location. I've seen any number of one and dones that it's generally a community, or it might be like a Rotary Club or some sort of service organization that want to put on a sanctioned barbecue contest. And we'll talk about the finances of it in a second, but I completely understand why they want to do something. They're trying to draw people to their town, their community, and that's great. But the barbecue teams, that they're only going to travel so far. I think location is. I've had to cancel contests. I've had to cut sites, locations out because people just wouldn't come to them. So I think that's it.
If I wanted to put one on here in Cleveland, So certainly there's a number of areas around greater Metro Cleveland we could look at. Of course, there's a number of the, suburban sprawl where there's a lot of open land, this and that. Is it better to look at what barbecue competition teams are within a X hour radius? And then do I reach out to them and say, hey, thinking about this, is this something you would do, or are you just wasting breath?
I spent 10 months on the road before I opened the gates to my contest. I did the research. Most people don't do that. Most people are like, hey, I want to do a barbecue contest. I want to do it in 3 months. And by that point, every team has already developed their schedule and their budget. Because it's very expensive to do a competition. It's an average $1,000 per team for a competition weekend. So all of that's already in place. Like last year, I had two or three locations, and they said, "Hey," and this was in April. They said, "Hey, we want to do a contest in June, and we got your information." I was like, "Not this June." There's none. You have to have time to plan it out. So, we talked about if you're in a field or in a parking lot, you've got to get all of those supplies, all of that material. And that means you got to call a rental place and hope they have the stuff. If it's in the middle of summer, that stuff may already be rented out. We've had contests in August or July, or other events in August and July, and all the cords are gone. There's no electric cords, so you're stuck, where you have to figure out some other alternative. I think the idea that this is a silver bullet, it's going to bring money into my community, is it's sort of a myth. I've done a lot of contests, over 100 contests, and I don't make money. I do this mostly for the fun. I may make $3,000 on a weekend. That's my profit. So if I'm trying to service a community organization, it's a lot of work for $3,000.
I've heard a lot of, so if we're talking about myths, I always hear about the organization or the event is going to benefit XYZ charity. You talked about the Rotary Club, where, maybe they're trying to generate funds back to the Rotary Club. And then the end, and I've talked to a number of promoters over the show's lifetime, and they've all said more or less to a man or woman, you got to figure out how you can get that charity paid first. Whatever you have told them that you're going to give them, you got to find a way to make that number happen up front. And then if it all falls apart after that, then that's on you. You're going to have to figure out how to get better at that the next time, or you're just not going to do it anymore. But if you short the charity on the first end of that, then this is not going to go anywhere after this. And oh, by the way, that charity is going to be pissed at you.
Yeah. I haven't worked with a ton of charities. I've had charities contact me for that type of work. What I've cautioned them, I've said, don't do a sanctioned contest. Just bring in, some food trucks and do a little mini festival in your town. Barbecue and beer. It's very simple. Bring in a local brewery, or, have the Elks Club, be the, have it at an Elks Club, and they can serve the alcohol, and you bring in some food trucks or something like that. That would be a better use of time and funding than trying to put on a really large barbecue competition, a sanctioned barbecue competition.
When do you know if you have a winner of an event? Is it like year one, the thing makes money and you're off and running, or does it just feel good the first year and it's going to take 2, 3, 4 times at this to really make it something that's sustainable?
kind of what the rule of thumb is. The first year you lose a little money, second year you break even, third year you start growing. But money's tight. If you could actually make a profit on year one, you've got something. You really do. And just tweak it, make it a little better. Find out, how to, find out what the next thing you want to add to it. That's, you want people to come and say, oh, I remember some of this, but oh, that's new. You don't want it to be the same event, the same bands, the same lineup year after year after year. You have to, differentiate. You have to bring something new to the party.
So you've done 100 events. We've seen over the last handful of years many long-time contests go by the wayside. Why do you think they've become extinct, and how are you still able to continue on?
Again, COVID was like the great equalizer. There were a lot of events that were coasting. They were not making money. And finally, people were like, you know what? We just realized we didn't spend this money and lose this money. And we didn't, expend all this effort into it. Let's not do it. I think honestly, that's what we saw happen was a lot of contests, a lot of festivals, a lot of public events. That's what happened. Is COVID was the great equalizer, and yeah, I don't. The reason I was able to kind of shoehorn my way through is I don't have a large team that I have to pay. It's me and my buddy, and we go and do most of this stuff ourselves. Even for our festivals, we bring in, a couple of folks to kind of help us out. And, but we don't have a huge team of 30, 40, 50 people to put on events. So there's not much overhead. It's, fairly inexpensive for us to go do some things. And, I think a lot of it is just knowing, for example, knowing the teams. And if I ever need the teams to do something for me, I can ask them. Like, for example, we've got we're going to do something called the Wicked Wings Brew Fest. So it's chicken wings and beer. And so I've asked some of my barbecue teams, hey, can you cook me 1,000 chicken wings? And they're like, yeah, I can do that.
Wow.
So, it's those sorts of things where I can go to them and, we'll pay them a stipend or whatever it is, but they're happy to help me out. And I know they're going to create great product.
What events are you doing over the course of this year?
So I've got a pretty full schedule. The campground series, we just started last weekend in Connecticut. We actually had 5 world champions with us. It was pretty awesome. Brad Leininger, who is currently the team of the year contender, he's just slaying it out on the field.
Yeah.
He won day one very handily by like 13 points, which is a lot in a barbecue competition.
Oh, yeah.
Day two, he came in second at 7:07, and we had one of our other world champions, Urkel with Uncle Pigs, had a 7:09. And 720 is the, I guess, the perfect score in KCBS scoring. So just amazing scores. And so we'll start from there. I've got 5 more weekends in the campground series. And then starting into the summer, we've got our big one. It's called the Grand Am. It's the Grand American Barbecue World Championship. It's our inaugural event. And basically it's a barbecue competition and it's a barbecue festival. So the festival's, for the local people. And then the competition is, we've decided kind of after, 10 years of doing contests, we really wanted to have a world championship placed in the Northeast. And also we've seen the Northeast teams really stepping it up in the past couple of years. We've got Jack winners. We've got Team of the Year winners. We've got, just this past year, Chunky Barbecue took Team of the Year and the Open at the American Royal. So we've got really great teams in the Northeast, and we're really excited. So far, we've got about, I think, 34 teams coming on Saturday, which is our our invitational, you have to have won a grand or reserve grand at a sanctioned 3 or 4 meet contest to be eligible. So that it opens it up a little bit. We're actually doing an agreement with Memphis in May, which is a 3 meet competition. Of course, KCBS teams, Florida Barbecue. We're trying to get CBA, some other leagues to come in. But basically, we will honor if you've got a sanctioned or you've got a qualifying grand or reserve from a sanctioned contest. We will honor that and bring you in on Saturday for our invitational, and then on Sunday, all of the teams will stick around on Saturday, and then they're going to compete again on Sunday for what is a New York State Championship. And right now, there's two sanctioned contests in New York, so you have a 50-50 shot at getting a draw into the Jack Daniels. And there's some money to go along with it. What's the deadline to get in for the Grand Am?
So
May 31st. So we've still got a little time. Like I said, we've got 34, and we'll have 45 teams right now. So we're expecting to hit probably 50 teams in the Invitational, and 70 on Sunday for the Open. So biggest competition we've seen in the Northeast, and we've got a $50,000 purse on Saturday, and then a $15,000 purse on Sunday. So $65,000 for the whole weekend. So we've got teams coming up from Texas, Colorado, obviously from the Northeast, and then from the Southeast as well. So we're really excited. It's a really high quality caliber of folks that are coming in for it.
Where's the event being held at?
It's in Port Jervis, New York, which is actually right on the corner of New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. It's about 45 minutes to an hour west of Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. East. Yep. And then about 90 minutes west of Newark. So not in New York City at all.
Completely outside of the Grand Am, do you do any other events like steak contests or single meat contests or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't do steak, but I do a ton of the one meat contest. Basically, we do back-to-back contests. All of our contests is a Saturday 4 meat masters, and then a Sunday 4 meat masters. So all of ours are back-to-back contests. Wow. That's kind of what our teams have said. I'm already there. I traveled there. It took me 8, 9, 10 hours to get there. Let's just do it. And then in the evenings, I'll do a 1 meat contest. And a lot of times the teams will kind of use that as a practice cook to sort of test out new ideas. They'll get the feedback, and they may try to implement that into their next day's cook. Or they may say, you know what, this totally tanked. Yeah. I'm definitely not using this vinegar sauce, or whatever it might be.
Are you open for consultation? If I wanted to get a hold of you and pay you some kind of expert fee to help me navigate if putting on an event is right for my area or not, do you do that?
Sure. We actually, so immediately after the Grand Am, we're going to go to Lincoln, Nebraska. So we're going from New York to Nebraska in, I think I have 6 hours at home to pack my bag. And in Nebraska, we're going to bring an event we created called the Great American Rib Fest. We're actually going to combine that with the Lancaster County Fair. They were looking for an attraction for their second weekend. So we're going to bring the Rib Fest to Lincoln. There used to be one downtown for a number of years, and they kind of moved it around and did some things, and it hasn't been around again since COVID. So we know it's a great opportunity, and we're looking forward to that. Great people there as well.
When you're putting on KCBS event, obviously that's a KCBS judging situation, but when you go into the single meat stuff, is that whoever you can get out of the crowd or whoever volunteers, or these certified judges as well?
I have I'm proud to say that over 100 contests, I have 99.9% certified KCBS judges.
Wow.
I've got a list of 500-600 judges in the Northeast that again, you make friendships with these folks, and they come in, and they're glad to come in and do a Friday night judging. Sometimes we have to bring some teams in, but most of the teams that we bring in they're at least teams, so they know what you're looking for, or they actually are KCBS judges.
How does somebody get a hold of you if they're looking for advice or looking for a consult?
So my email is Jeremy, Jeremy, and it's at Great Events USA. That's GREAT. Great Events USA. Jeremy at Great Events USA. That's the easiest way to do it.
So if you are somebody that's looking to get into this and you want to pick the brain of a master and you have money to compensate his expertise with, then go ahead and shoot him an email and see if it's a project that's worth getting off the ground wherever you are. Jeremy, really appreciate the extended time here tonight, all the insight and information.
Oh, thank you.
And continued success with everything you got going on.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate the time, and this has been fun. A lot of fun. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it. There's Jeremy right there from Great Events USA and the website for the inaugural event coming up here, not too far away here as we starting to close out April. GrandAmBBQ.com is the place to go and find out more information there. Or, again, if you're looking to get into organizing a barbecue event, then this is a guy who has done over 100 events. Jeez. He's kind of an expert. He's somebody you might want to lean on. Maybe even bring in. Send off your private plane and see what's happening. Hey, before we close up the first hour, Big Papa Smokers is celebrating 15 years of helping both backyard warriors and competition pros bring home the grand championship. Whether you're prepping for your next comp or just firing up the grill in the backyard, Big Papa's award-winning rubs like Sweet Money, competition brisket and steak, cash cow, cattle prod have the bold flavors to take your barbecue to the next level. And for a limited time, they have brought back a fan favorite, Cucaracha, the extra kick you've been craving. Barbecue Central Show listeners, you can save on shipping to the tune of free shipping when you use promo code BBQ Central 25 at checkout. That's BBQ Central 25 all together. Now through June 30th. You got a couple months yet. But load up that shopping cart with whatever you want and then take the shipping on me. BBQ Central 25 at checkout for free shipping. Again, good now through June 30th. Some exclusions apply, and it's free ground shipping at that. We're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Jeremy Garrett for joining us last segment. Trust me, the messages have been coming in fast and furious during the BBQ Central Show read. Hey, that guy just called you John. Oh, it was a mistake. It's tough trying to get out of an interview. Sometimes you feel obligated to keep the pleasantries rolling instead of just saying, hey, thanks for having me. And then you throw a wrong name in there and everybody's there. He just called you John. Did he say John? Is your name John? No. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. All right, we are getting ready to move to the second hour where we will have a visit from not only one nor three, but four embedded correspondents as we move into that 10 past the first hour. Let me try that again. As we move in that 10 past the second hour. Also, just for audio dynamics, I'm going to bring in the Electra voice for the second hour, and we're going to compare what the fidelity sounds like, that what the audio replication sounds like compared to the Sennheiser. Why not? I can do it. It's right here. All right, so refresh your libations. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show, and we'll be back right after this. Hang on.